Hello, Giants fans. Welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. I'm sorry that it's been a while since our last episode, but my schedule is a little bit crazy right now, so it's just going to be a reality for a while. But we do need to get into where the Giants are in spring training, and their record as of right now is 6-8, so it's definitely not great, but they are also clearly still in the developmental stages. And today it was a 6-4 loss to the Dodgers. And obviously losing to the Dodgers, it's like, what else is new? But they didn't deploy a ton of their guaranteed roster spot pitchers. They threw in mostly non-roster invites, and Camilo Doval was the only major leaguer to get on the mound for the Giants today. So, again, still in the developmental stages, but Jung-Hoo Lee did bat leadoff, and he was hitless in 3 at-bats today. I believe he had a walk. I think it was today that he had one, but I'm not positive about that. But as it is, Lee has been hitting really well in his 22 at-bats. His batting average, I believe, is .318. It was somewhere around there. So really close to getting a hit a third of the time. Now, 22 at-bats is definitely a very small sample size, and we can't deny that. However, it's good to see that Lee is getting a good start. It's certainly, as small of a sample size as that is, I think it is better than if we were just to see him not get on base and not get hit. So I think the least we can say about it is that it is a good first impression for him, and he's showing that he really very likely does have the ability that they were hoping for from him, being a good leadoff hitter who is able to essentially get on base a lot. And it's one of those situations where you wonder if there is going to be any talk at all among the Giants management, both on and off field, about whether it's more ideal for Lee to bat second, being the high batting average guy, because the question I think would be, would that give him more RBI opportunities, rather than coming just right in front of the bottom of the lineup. And I think that's something that it may be discussed, but I mean, I don't know, and I think it's definitely by far most likely that he will just bat leadoff, as was kind of always the plan for him. But it will be interesting to see, though, how things ultimately turn out. And I know this has just probably become old stuff by now, but the Giants are definitely, it's just hard to believe that they're in a spot where we don't see a real superstar product on the field. And you just wonder, what is it going to take for them to learn that lesson? I don't know. Because they've gone now through 3 off seasons, including this one, where, I mean, it was more than that. Like, I don't know how many, but I think it's the 3 that we've paid the most attention to, where they just have missed out on the superstars that they were trying to sign. And they still don't seem to be convinced that a guy like Blake Snell or Cody Bellinger, is worth the risk. Has to be. And to their credit, they did sign Jorge Soler. I still expect him to be a big piece. Again, probably a good candidate, be a full-time DH, and hopefully provide some power. I think he is likely to bat cleanup. But they still missed out on free agents that they needed. And I mean, it's interesting with Blake Snell because, like, I was just reading a Baseball Prospectus article on him that essentially just broke down the weakness that he has of walking guys. And he does have, it mentioned that he does have below average command as far as all pitchers go, but it's also the case that his approach is just, he doesn't challenge the strike zone. He really lives off the corners, and he's kind of afraid to throw actual quality strikes, and is kind of a nibbler, if that makes any sense. And it was essentially what the author had done was essentially put together a model that would have basically simulated what would happen if he attacked the zone a little more, and he'd be hit, the model said, a little bit harder, but ultimately the difference would be made up, and it would just, his overall performance would improve because he'd just get ahead in the count more and not walk hitters, and you know, that was the essential conclusion there. But it's definitely the case that, you know, I think analytics like that just have a lot of meaning, and I understand that they can go overboard, and I am definitely not a clutch hitting denier. I'm not a hot and cold streak denier, and I'm not a batting average on balls in play denier, and I'm sure that the list could go on and on. But when people really put together some good and sensible graphics and models like this, it actually means something, and I think it really does for Blake Snell. So let's say, and I am not endorsing this at all, but let's say it was somehow a legitimate conclusion that the front office, they're too scared to sign him. Well, how does a Baseball Prospectus writer have to think of everything by themselves? The player development department, my point is, they should have thought of stuff like this by now. And if they thought about it and didn't say anything, they should have said something about it. This is the kind of stuff they need to think about, because signings like Robbie Ray, I don't think, and Jordan Hicks, I don't think they were bad signings, but they need someone who can be more solidly expected to have a really good 2024, and that might mean burning some years in the future where they know they're still going to be paying the player a lot. And I understand that sounds like just getting back into the crisis they were in before with all their veterans that they were paying a ton to, and they weren't really performing. That is obviously the risk there, but it's clear to me that a championship can't be won unless something changes. I do think that the on-field roster for 2024, it's probably a little bit better than it was in 2023, but we need to find out, obviously, how much better a little bit better is. So we can still hope for the best, and I don't want to keep saying that every year if nothing's going to happen, but I think the other big thing is the manager change, and we just have to see how well Bob Melvin is able to do here. So I think that's all for today. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.